Hello YouTube, this is Black Skull, and this video is going to be me giving you some insight on gothically inclined bands you want to check out. Now this isn't something you have to check out if you're interested in the scene or whatever. I mean, anybody can listen to this if they want. Fair warning though, some of these band titles may seem a little obscure or um, oftentimes a little risque if you're a little more conservative. So unless you actually are curious as to hear what this music sounds like, um, you might not want to watch this video any further because I was raised by as a fairly conservative person, so that part of me's long been dead, thankfully. I'm awfully a lot more open-minded now, so thankful for that. So, the way it turns out, goth music in general is actually separated by variations of people. Personally, I like to define it in two separate subgenres. Well, actually three if you count cybergoth, which I don't really get, but they've got their own thing going on. Props to them. But the way it turns out, there's actually as far as goth rock in general, there's two specific categories that you gotta follow. One of them more than the other. The other is just like a bonus at this point. And the first one being is post-punk. And the reason it's post-punk is because, well, first of all, the Gothic aesthetic itself has been around for at least 400, 500, 600 years, since the Victorian period. So it's essentially about the darker side of beauty. And what that means is it's just a more mysterious and oftentimes a little unusual side that we're all sort of afraid of, but at the same time want to learn more about. And it's just an aesthetic that was modernized further by punk rock. So if you've ever seen more post-punk bands like Joy Division is a perfect example, Bauhaus, Specimen, The Cure, Alien Sex Fiend, Susie and the Banshees. There's plenty out there to check out if you haven't already. There's a couple others I wanted to mention too. I can't think of them. Oh well. But the way it turns out, the second subgenre that I'm referring to is basically what more modernized gothic rock sounds like. And these are bands like, well, the way it turns out, before I explain this one, there's actually something I gotta point out. Because all these earlier bands they were around back when the Gothic movement itself, the torn tights or whatever, the makeup, the jewelry, the music in general, it was all really raw and it was new. So, obviously, not only did it not have an actual name, they didn't even call it goth music till later on, but it doesn't even sound like a lot of the more recent bands out there. So those bands, Bauhaus, the one I listed before, as good as they sound, not a whole lot of them sound the same. And what that means is gothic rock in general is supposed to have a specific sound as far as vocals. And what that is, people seem to think, oh, it's probably just the same as death metal. Shut up. It's different than that. It's got, any goth male vocalist, Andrew Eldritch, even Peter Murphy, Ollie Wisdom, any one of them at all, they've got a deep, echoey voice whenever they sing. No rasp, no, no all over the place range or anything. It's meant to be mysterious, sensual, and oftentimes often overall just obscure, but at the same time pleasurable in a way. If that makes sense. So these bands, the more modernized gothic rock bands, would be, and this doesn't just apply to only guys, even some female goth vocalists definitely have more, not so much deep voices, but they definitely strike some people as a little more, not so much unsettling, just a little more, can't think of the word, not so much melancholy, but it's it sounds sad, but it also sounds seductive, if that makes sense. And it's just sound, so it doesn't really matter. You know, there's no hidden message behind it or anything. You know, it's just sound. It's music, and these bands include um, Sisters of Mercy, Switchblade Symphony, Nosferatu, it's a good one. The 69 Eyes, London After Midnight. Um, Typo Negative is arguably somewhere between goth and metal at this point. You know, Peter Steele's voice on one hand is fairly, you know, deep and echoey, which is cool. Rest in peace. But a lot of the actual music parts of it, they're just too rough and too metal in a sense. So that's pretty much all I gotta say. I mean, it's the same genre, but at the same time, there's different variations of the genre within the genre. So you got, you know, I'm somewhere between the two. I think at this point, I have a fairly death rock sounding voice. You know, like if you've ever heard performers at the Batcave Goth Club over in England, you know, they have the slightly high, slightly low sort of voices, you know. Peasants gather round, oh beautiful music, something like that. Um, but, you know, guys like Andrew Eldridge definitely take their vocals a lot lower than that. So yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about that. It's not really up for debate. A lot of people seem to think, oh, yo, there's some hidden meaning behind it because I don't understand it. There's not. There's really not. I'm sorry if this struck some people as a ramble. I'm basically, I try to explain this as well as I can because, you know, there's so many misconceptions around it, and I'm afraid people won't believe me or whatever, but, you know, just, your opinion is your opinion, and I don't really care, so if you choose not to believe me, choose not to believe me, but if you got the gall to go look it up, then more power to you, because it's kind of the whole reason I'm making this video, so you'll look it up. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you like, please like. Feel free to share your obscure little thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe if you want to see more. Love you.